Alright, so we're going to be making a tier list for the Canada version of Black Clover Mobile. This is going to be a bit of a disclaimer that these are mainly considered for their max potentials and will be considered both for PvP and PvE together. So sometimes some units will be higher because they're really good in one mode, which I will make 100% clear. And sometimes they'll be lower because they're really bad in another mode, right? So we're going to be ranking all SRs and SSRs because I believe one, that our rare units are not amazing in this game or like noteworthy at all, and two, I just have never really looked into them. But from the ones I've looked into, they just have less stats and just less good skills. So just take that with a grain of salt because I haven't really checked every single one, but they're really not that good. The only one you can maybe consider is Sister Lily if you don't have a healer, but that is it. So actually getting into it. SR and SSRs always at their maximum potential. I will explain them. And there is something to note. I will be ranking the chapter 4 units, including Midnight Sun and Sr&Ssr. But everyone after that will not be included. And the Midnight Sun may or may not be there on launch. If they are not there on launch, doesn't matter. Everyone else stays the same in the tier list, right? You got to realize that these units don't really hard counter any other units or any other teams, really. At that point, except for maybe Ready Army, which I'll mention, all the other units stay relatively the same in terms of how good they are. So let's get into it. There's no, from this point before Noel, there's no predominant meta. So you got to realize that. Anyway, we're going to start and go down from S tier to D tier all the way, right? Now, mainly SSRs are in the higher tiers, but let's just start with that. So, I'm just going to go from what I have on the left, right? I have another monitor to just check that out. So let us start. Now, to start off, we're going to go for Mars. Where's Mars? Mars is over here. So, Mars is by far the best tank in the game. He just tanks very well. And he has really good skills. So you won't actually be using his ultimate. You're going to be using his combo attack with usually not with Lotus, but with Lotus it's good too. So what it does is it AoE stuns. It has a chance to AoE stun, which is just insanely good. And if you pair it alongside a DPS that has an AoE skill 1, it's going to make it so that you do damage and also have a chance to AoE stun. Now, what makes him even better is that, first of all, he has really high defensive capabilities, especially if you pull his skill page or you choose his skill page from the guaranteed skill page voucher. It's going to make him insanely good. He has a skill 2 that also stuns, so he has a double stun, and he has a skill 1 taunt, and taunt is good for many reasons as it blocks you from using any buff skills, and also obviously you can't attack anyone else, and he is very good against this Red Asta. If you are able to attack before Red Asta, taunt him or stun him, it's going to be great. Now, if you pair him up with Lotus, he's also really good. He's good with Lotus, which just increases his value tenfold because him and Lotus work well together and have a special combo which changes his combo, and it makes it so that Lotus's or their combo together, Lotus and Mars, taunts and also reduces their attack. So Mars is just really good alongside Lotus. So let's put the guy up here. Let's put Lotus up here if I could find them now. There's a lot of units. So Lotus has a double AoE and both are really good. I'm going to ask if you want more explanations to check my stamina versus speed guide. It's going to be in the guide playlist, so check that out. Basically, Lotus reduces speed and stamina is more important, but both really good. And his ult also makes you take more damage by 50%. So he reduces speed, makes you take more damage, and reduces stamina. And if you pair him with Mars, you win. And because they're both blue, they're both going to be very high value early on. And in terms of PvE content, I think they're insanely good. Especially when you try to push or when you start pushing Hall of Illusions, they're going to be absolutely insane. Now, next up is Blue William. Blue William is really good because all 3 of his skills are amazing. His ultimate is the only skill at this point in time before Noel comes out, Summer Noel, that gives you a counter to whoever has the highest attack and also blocks damage by 34%. His skill 2 increases speed and attack, which makes him good with all the good DPSs at the moment, being Asta, Raya, Lich 2 could work, and both Diamis, right? All the DPSs work well with William and future units. So William's going to be good for that. And he has a skill 1 that could be repeated. So he's going to have a stun on skill 1, right? That could be repeated multiple times, which increases his value by so much, especially for PvP. But for hard PvE content, he's also just insanely good. Now, let's just put all the seasonal units in S tier 2. for the reason that they're all good. I mean, that's basically how we could say it. They're just all really good. So let's explain in order. Asta, best attacker, single target attacker in the game, good for PvP content and hard PvE content against bosses because he is just the single attack in the game. So if we go to character stats, he only scales off of attack, but makes it so that he has the highest attack in the game and pairs very well with William in PvP because William increases only attack and not magic attack, and Asta only has attack, so it's going to make it that his 70% attack buff that William gives increases Asta's attack exponentially compared to other DPSs. And if you dupe him out max, he has the highest speed for an attacker, which means he'll attack first, and he gets 2 hits. If you use his ult first turn, you get 2 hits because of the fact that everyone's over 80% HP, and if he attacks with his ult, if he attacks someone with his ult over 80% HP, he gets a second attack. So you're basically able to kill 2 people in 1 turn if you play your cards right. Mimosa, amazing PvE and PvP. She has a res, 2 AoE heals, but 3 heals in total, so she's just going to be good everywhere. PvE content is going to make you survivability go up, and then PvP, she's just really toxic and is going to be amazing. Blue Yami is going to hard counter all the red DPSs and makes it so that red Yami is stayed in his place, and also so that red Asta doesn't go too crazy. He has a silence on his ult, which is amazing. If we go into, I just want to talk about him a bit more in depth. So he has silence, which makes it so that they can't use ult or skill 2, reduces special points, and then his AoE is really good in terms of attack, has a very good attack multiplier, does a lot of stuff with skill page, and also because of his passives is really good. So increases damage done and 15% more against red units. So in total, he's going to be able to make sure to keep the red units in check by doing even more damage against them because of their passives and because he is a blue unit. So he's good against red Asta and just is a very good unit, stopping ultimates and skill 2s from being used and sometimes breaking the complete flow of units, but he's also really good in PvE content. So I'd say that is why I'm ranking him so high. Now, next up is going to be Rhodes. Rhodes is just, I'd say, the most useful tank in the game in some places. So for PvE, he's really good. He gives a shield and also increases your defense by 140%. If you have him duped out, he's by far, I'd say, the best tank in the game in a way, but he doesn't serve as a tank. He's the best tank that doesn't tank. So that's why Mars is as good as Rhodes, but they serve different roles because you're going to be building Rhodes with a magic attack since he has a shield. That shield is insane. And what it does is it also keeps it so that Rill cannot stun. Stuns become useless once this shield is up, but not before. So his skill 2 increases defense. His ult gives you a massive shield that also stops stuns, which is going to make like most of the debuffers or just like many good units not as good because of Rhodes. Even to this point in the game, right? He's just really good and he stays good. So I'd say investing in him is not bad. For hard PvE content, he's going to be good. And for PvP, he's just like insane, right? He's insane. Now, the Midnight Suns are all really good, so let's all put them there, and I'm slowly gonna explain why. Liched, where are you? Liched? No, not Liched. Veto. Not Veto. Sorry, not Veto. He's not good. But these 3 are good, right? So, Fauna has a double AoE and is good against red units. She's going to do insane damage, just AoE, and she is a burning unit. So if you want to have fun with the burning comp with Fuego, Leopold, and what's her name? Theresia, it's going to be great. Her damage is incredible. She has very high attack stats, and she could apply burn sometimes. She has lifesteal, so she has some sort of survivability. Overall, very good. Liched has immortality for 1 turn under 30% HP. So basically, if you try to kill him once, you have to kill him after he attacks another turn because of his immortality. And if Raya is out at the time, these 2 together will have the best AoE attack in the game. Basically, their combo together does insane damage, especially before Noelle. So it's going to be great. Same thing with Raya. Really good damage. Could be good single target and also AoE because he has good single targets. But he has a skill 1 AoE very similar to Red Yami. And it's honestly even better. He is a much better version of Jack because of how it works. Basically, he gets 10% damage per buff. Insane. Absolutely insane, and he's really good with Liched, and you can honestly make a PvP team just with these 2, so hopefully they're in a banner together or something like that. We'll have to see, but if you guys check back on my showcases for these 2, they're insane, right? Absolutely insane, right? Now next up, we're going to put the SRs that are in S tier in my eyes. So we've got Red Asta, Finral, and Lotus. Not Lotus, sorry, Voltos. So why these 3 are so good? Red Asta is going to be probably like just like the best SR tank. Really good for red stages and also just really annoying in PvP. He's good in PvE and PvP. amazing. He has an AoE taunt, and if you pair him up with someone like Lotus, he could AoE stun. Amazing, because when there's incapacitate active, which is what makes you take more damage, which is a buff. Sorry, I need to slow down. Which a debuff that Lotus puts. So he puts an incapacitate debuff, which makes you take more damage. When that debuff is active, Asta is able to AoE stun. Okay, great, and he has an AoE taunt. And when he is in that AoE taunt form, he basically reduces damage by 50%. So he will not die, right? He will not die, and he also has increased defense on both his skill 1 and skill 2, which I'm saying, by the way, if you're using an SR, you want to have their skill page, their like unique skill page, right? So it makes sense to say that he does have it on the skill 2, even if it's only the unique skill page, right? Finral is really good for PvP, and so is Voltos, but Finral's better in PvE. I'd say Voltos, if you want to nuke and have fun, he's really good, but he's more a PvP unit. Both of them are really good, and you could honestly, one of the teams that you're going to see is Lich, Raya, Voltos, and Finral. Basically, Voltos is able to speed ahead, and basically, they both can, but they provide different buffs. He's good with magic attack units. He's good with just every unit, since he gives crit rate, increased damage, speed. He gives stamina, and stamina is more important than speed. If you put a stamina user against, or stamina buffer against a speed buffer, the stamina buffer is always going to go first. And Finral is a speed buffer. Voltos is a stamina buffer. The stamina buffer is going to go before Finral, right? So Voltos is better in that regard if you play with them alone. But if they're together, they're both really good in both PvE and PvP. Voltos gives a magic attack buff by 70% increased accuracy. And he's just really good. Both of them are amazing for making you go first. So that's why they are also in S tier. Now, we got that out of the way. Let's go down to A tier. So, we're going to start with Red Yami. Really good. Has one of the best single target, skill 1 AoE, sorry. Skill 1 AoE is amazing. Applies bleed on everyone guaranteed, which pairs well with his skill 2. When there's a bleed active, his skill 2 guaranteed stuns. Guaranteed stuns in this game are amazing PvE and really good in PvP. But because of the PvP meta and how it works, especially if Fauna is out, it's going to make him less good in PvP, but in PvE, he's going to be amazing. So honestly, he's like high A tier, but like to the point of being S tier, right? Like that's how I see it. But his worth in PvP, honestly, is not amazing, but I do kind of want to include him in S tier. It's just that like, because of the blue units that are out and how dominant blue is until Noel comes out, that Yami is in A tier, right? That's the main thing that I see. But for like green stages, he's gonna be amazing, right? He is gonna be amazing. A tier is still really good. His damage single target is good. He has a really good AoE that also gives you a guaranteed stun. So for PvE, he's gonna be amazing. For PvP, he's gonna be good, but still very good, right? Now, Rill is just a bit of a different version than Lotus. Basically, he has two AoEs, both making the enemies take more damage, but his AoE ult stuns. Has a chance to stun, and the only reason he's really an A tier is because Rhodas exists. But he's more of a PvP unit, but you can use him in PvE, and he's still going to be very good, especially early on. Like, this guy's very good. A tier is still good, but not one of the first units you want to get, right? Charlotte, also very good in both PvP and PvE. Charlotte kind of lost value after Noel, because, like, the debuffing meta kind of, like, stopped the minute Noel came out, because it was very hard to, the way debuffing meta worked is that you would apply many debuffs in like 2 turns, but now the meta is very focused on like 2 turns and then you're done. But like with debuffing, it would mainly be like a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 turn games, right? So it's very different, I'd say, in how it is now, because before it was debuffing, now it's more tanking meta. Okay, so she applies a lot of good debuffs, and I don't fully remember them off the top of my head, but if you fight her, honestly, like, she's really good. She applies reduced defense and a mark, which basically, if you kill someone with a mark, you get an extra turn. Now, she also applies attack reduction, so in terms of debuffs, she is amazing, right? Reduces defense, reduces attack, and you compare it with Nozel to just be insane. She also has, for nuking, or just like boss fights, Incapacitate level 5, which makes the enemy take 70% more damage, okay? Okay, let me take a little breather. 1, 2, 3, and let's go. So, Fuego, really good. He doesn't work exactly like a burn unit, but is going to be very good. He has an AoE burn chance, basically, and on his ult, very good damage. overall, it's just a damaging unit. There's not much more to say. If you have Burn active, he's going to do insane damage, and I think that you're going to have a lot of fun with him. And Sally, one of the best buffers in the game, but she doesn't give speed, so at the moment she's not really S tier, but she's still going to be like crazy good. Crazy good. So she gives magic attack buff, crit rate buff, crit damage buff, all attack buff. She gives every buff imaginable except for speed. So that's why she's an A tier. But she's going to be a very good A tier, and she's going to work with most of the game. So just know that. Now let's get on to the SRs. Solid is very solid. So his damage wise, he's very good. You know what? I know what he does. So basically, he has like AoEs, and they're very good. And he also has silencing chances on those AoEs, which stops you from using certain skills. Pretty sure for him, it's alt and skill 2. So he has a alt AoE, and then he has a 3-unit main and adjacent, and then he has a single target, which is really good. They all do really good damage because of how he works. He really is scaling off of crit like damage, and also just has a really good SR passive, one of the only SR passives that increase damage. So he's going to be an amazing free-to-play option. Same thing with Ghost, where Solid is good AoE more so. Ghost is the best single target blue unit, I'd say. Very comparable with Blue Yami, but Blue Yami has those like debuffer traits that put him in S tier, where Ghost single target could wipe out anyone in the game, I think, at this point, if you build him right. Single target damage is just insane. That's basically his whole thing. Now, amazing AoE unit. And he's going to be very good for free-to-play people. He applies Incapacitate, which makes people take more damage. He has just good AoEs in general, so he is going to be very interesting early on. I want to see how he plays on Canada, honestly. Now, Vanessa, why she's good, I feel like I need to explain a bit more in depth, is that her ult and skill 2 basically make it so you don't take much damage. So her ult applies total defense, which makes it so that you block damage, which makes you block up to 30% of damage. And when you do block that damage, there's a chance if your buff of Blessing of Protection gets activated, that you healed 8%. So you guaranteed block, and if you get this buff off, you're going to be able to block or heal 8% of damage, which is pretty nice, paired alongside her actually increasing defense, and with her skill page Endurance, which I'm pretty sure this is just gonna make them take less damage also. So she's gonna make it so that you don't really take much damage, and it's honestly a really interesting thing, and I want to try out a team with her. Honestly, it's gonna be pretty fun. Now, going down, actually, you know what, I think Leopold for me is still high B tier, just because of like how easy it is for him to take damage. I think that there's a lot of units that are going to be able to counter him, and I think that Red Yami and Red Asta are just better. But Leopold will have a place in the meta in a burn team, but it won't be anything crazy, I think, because everyone by that point should be dead. But we shall see. I think that Leopold is very high B tier. He could be in A tier, but I'm going to put him in B tier just because I think that that's where he belongs, sadly. You know what? Yeah, no, we're keeping him there. I think that Red Yami and Leopold are the two that could be moved up a bit, but I've decided to keep them there, okay? So Leopold's damage is really good. He applies burns, and if there's burns active, that's when he really shines. But the other burn units, except for Fauna, aren't really crazy, so that is the main reason. But when he applies burns on his ult, it's a base multiplier of 200%, which is the highest single target multiplier in the game, except for Kyoto's. And Kyoto isn't even out yet, so it's insane. Like, his damage is going to be very good. He has really high attack stats. So Leopold. Vetto, very good last man standing, but except for that, to me, has no relevance in the meta at all. But if you get him to be last man standing, he actually could pop off, and I've seen it happen. So just don't be overconfident with Vetto, but I think he sucks overall. Now, Jack, single target, I mean, he's good, but it's sad that this Ghost is literally better single target. But it's mainly because he has a buff skill too, but it makes you take 2 turns total to actually get him fully equipped. And the thing is, with his ult, it is very situational, where every buff he gets increases his crit damage by 10%, but if you don't crit, it's a useless ult. So it's very situational. If you get it off, it's great, but if you don't, he's shit. So that's why he's in B tier. PvE, also, because he's only single target, isn't amazing. And PvP, honestly, you should not be using him. Use Ghost if you want to use a single target blue unit. Now, Nozella's only good because you could pair him alongside Charlotte, where if you pair them together, they do no damage, but except for that, he's kind of shit. You're never going to see him, honestly, so sucks to suck, I guess. Now, Magna has a guaranteed stun if you have burn applied, so he's going to be very good for that. Getting any type of guaranteed stun is just really good in PvE and could work well in PvP too in some cases. So that's why he's B tier. Nothing too crazy, but good enough, I'd say. Now, Soul, just in general, very good defender if you don't have Mars. But if you have Mars, do not even think of using her. But she's able to taunt, and at least with her, you're able to choose who you want to taunt. Basically, where is it? Well, not really choose, but you have chances 80% and then just guaranteed taunt here. So single target, I think that's good if you want to taunt certain units. PvP, I don't see the most uses for her, but it could work out maybe. But PvE, if you don't have Mars, she could work as a replacement. Definitely. Now, next up, Mimosa and Teresia, they both are healers. She has AoE heal. She has one AoE heal. She is also good for the burn team. And the burn team would consist of like her, Leopold, Fuego, and Fauna, right? That would be probably the burn team. If not, you could put him. But her heals should be pretty good, and she is also a healer, which is the only reason they're there, because we need healers. And I'd say that they're both decent enough to be in B tier. Now, for me, Charmy, I think, is a C tier unit. I don't think you need healers for blue units because of how many dominant blue units there are. Ghost, Solid, Fauna, Yami, and these three are just essential to every team almost, that they're really good. But Charmy can still be used. I think that on more free-to-play tier list, she'll be in B tier. But to me, she's just not crazy. Like, I look at her and it's like, bro, what does she even do? She has single target heals, and to me, single target heals are not crazy. Her ult just dispels buffs, so useless ult. Her skill 2 does increase one person's HP and increases magic attack of that person. But then it's nothing crazy. And then here also she has 2 single target heals. So do you need a healer? Sure, but I don't think for blues you need a healer particularly, I believe. So I think she's not that good at all, especially when you consider who's coming out in the future. So don't build Charmy in my eyes. I think that if you really, the main thing to go for either way, I'm going to be telling you, is get 2 of these 3 units and you're set. Like, you're literally set if you get 2 of these 3 units, and then you get Blue Yami for free from Gateway of Destiny, and GG, right? G, right? Now, Noelle, I think that she's pretty good, but for red units, I think Red Asta is just better to help the team tank, right? So that's why she's all the way down there. She has a shield, AoE, or like all ally shield, increases defense, and then also, you know what? I'll put her in B tier. I think she's in B tier. I'm sorry about that, but I have to make that change. She has 2 barriers, and she's able to increase defense for all allies. So she is pretty good and definitely B tier worthy. She's going to be able to keep everyone alive by giving everyone a barrier, increasing defense at the same time, which honestly is a very nice trait that if Rades had would be insane. Now, Luck, just a damage dealer. Where is he? Luck, hello. Just a damage dealer. Nothing too crazy. He's going to do damage, but not the craziest damage. Doesn't have many good passives on the skills, so not great. Now, Shurin and I forgot the other one's name. Alec, I think those are their names. They have AoE stuns. Only thing about them that I really think is good. Except for that, they don't have much to offer. But just AoE stuns is nothing that you should really want to... You need more, right? Because Mars has an AoE stun, but he tanks, he taunts, and he also stuns again. Real stuns AoE, but he also increases, he decreases their defense, makes them take more damage, and has very high speed. So those are why these 2 having AoE stuns is good, but not really essentially these 2 in my eyes, right? Now, next up, she's like an attacker, but she's a debuffer, so her stats aren't great. But you're going to use her as a debuffer, but she has a single target stun. She's a bit weird. She could do damage, but her stats aren't great, which kind of limits her a bit. If she was an attacker, she could have probably been better. Now, you'll see there's 1 SR left. Heath, useless. Absolutely useless. I genuinely, like, I'm sorry, guys. Heath is useless. Skill 1, chance to apply bleed. Bleed sucks. Skill 2, could 50% chance to apply freeze. Then also reduce endurance. And then AoE, chance to apply bleed. Does no damage, right? Only good skill... Only okay skill is the skill 2 if you apply the freeze. If not, it's shit. His AoE sucks, his skill 1 sucks, and yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, that's the tier list. Remember, Midnight Sun units might not be out on launch. Like these 3 plus Vettel plus Teresia might not be there. And if they're not, tier list stays the same really. But except for that, that's it. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. This is the Canada Day 1 tier list.